Part 4, the time my crazy neighbor tried to go on a killing spree in our neighborhood. But yeah, based off what the police told us was he kept having to come outside to tell the boys to be quiet. He had to work early the next day, so he was getting really frustrated. Boys were being really rude about it and just laughing at him and just like poking fun at him and making fun of him and stuff. He got really angry and he went back into his house, grabbed his rifle, came back out, and threatened the boys, the rifle in his hand. Obviously, the boys run back inside and call the police. He didn't shoot at them. He had a gun in his hand. He was cornered. He didn't shoot at anyone. Like I said in a previous video, it seemed like he was intoxicated, but I don't think that he was. I genuinely think that he had major mental issues and something just really triggered him that night. Either it was the boys or the stress just got built up too much. I genuinely think that he did not want to hurt anyone. I don't know exactly what happened that night. He had a rifle. Like, if he wanted to hurt somebody, he could hurt somebody, but he didn't. I'm guessing the rifle was genuinely just for intimidation. I don't know. Don't take my word on it. After we came back to our house, that man was gone. We haven't talked to him or heard about him since. This is a quick story time on how I threw up on my first kiss. No, I never recovered from this moment. It still plays in my head every day. One day goes by without me thinking. But anyway, I met this guy through a mutual friend. His friend went to my school. He went to a different school. One day she just sends me his Snapchat and she tells me to talk to him. Honestly, with the amount of times that boys have screwed me over, I was not feeling it. But honestly, he didn't look like a player. I had a feeling that he could have been genuine. Honestly, was not the cutest, but he still had a good personality, so I still talked to him. Also, at this point in my life, I was going through a really hard time. He was just there to always listen and give me advice, being my person. Regardless of his looks, his effort was sexy. I was like, shit, you trying to get a bonky? You trying to get some of this benedte? You trying to drown in it? You trying to... or no? We decided to hang out one day. I get all cute. I got on my cute little outfit. My hair is all cute. My makeup is all done. Slay. He texts me, tells me that he's here. Go outside, get in his car, and damn, this motherfucker stank. Oh. It was unbearably bad. And child, he kept talking windows up. Couldn't breathe. But I'm gonna hit y'all with the part 2. Part 2 of the time I threw up on my first kiss. So he comes to pick me up, but as soon as I get into his car, he stinks. And the more he talks, like, just filling up the car with his hot ass breath. I opened up the car door. I said, oh shit. Ah shit, I gotta tie my shoes. Trying to breathe. Just trying to get the circulation going again. I start thinking to myself, like, I'm not going out like this. There's no way. No. If he stinks, I'm gonna tell him. Like, I'm a big-hearted person, y'all. I did not have the heart, so I just dealt with it. I finished tying my shoe, and so I'm in the car acting uneasy. And we're about to pull out of my neighborhood. Where we're going, I don't even know. I ask him, he says we're going back to his house. I'm like, please no, please. So I hit him with the quick, I love taking showers. That shit is so relaxing. It's beautiful. It's an art. Everybody should love showers. I'm guessing that he did not know that he stank. After I said that, I was expecting him to come up with an excuse, but he just laughs. Like, nigga, what's funny? I'm about to suffocate to death. Once you stank, you ain't going back from that. I'm not fucking with you no more. I could just not do it no more, y'all. I was like, I was like, you stink. What he does next? Part 3 of the time I threw up on my first kiss. So he's stinking hot ass breath, filling up the car. I just could not take it no more. I had to tell him. I honestly felt bad because it could have been a medical condition. But if it was a medical condition, he probably would have warned me. Man, I ain't getting a warning, child. Yeah, I tell him that he stinks because I'm not about to put myself through this. And he pulls into a restaurant and parks the car. He did not say anything after I told him that he was stinking wanking. And this is what happened when we parked. I was like, no, do not try to kiss me right now. I was terrified. And as soon as that motherfucker put me 1 inch close to his face, I threw up everywhere. I swear it was everything that was building up. Everything that was in my stomach for like a week. It just came out everywhere. On his face, on him, in his mouth. I mean, shit happens. What can you do? It's not my fault. He should have never stunk like that. So he just goes, what the fuck? And I know he ain't what the fuck in me. Remember, you the one that stank, not me. So we end up driving home and I block him, child. Story time at the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. And trust me, you're gonna want to sit down for this story time. This happened to me as a senior in high school, so I had just turned 18. Felt like I was getting old and I needed to find a partner before I became too old and wrinkly and nobody wanted me anymore. My friends told me to download Tinder and I met this guy named Kyle. He was a sophomore in college going to the same college that I was planning on going to after I graduated. He only lived 30 minutes away and he was really sweet, so I thought I could really grow a strong bond with this man. We FaceTimed a few times before we decided to go to the movies together. After the movie, we went back to his apartment. He said that his apartment was close to the college, but we were driving pretty far from the college. We get to his apartment and he offers me a drink. Me being stupid, I take the drink and I drink it. I noticed that my data was completely shut off and there was no Wi-Fi. So I ask him why and he takes a minute to answer. He says he just couldn't afford it, which was a big red flag. Because how did he FaceTime me all those times at his place? I automatically lose trust for him. He heads to the bathroom and I take that opportunity to look around. I noticed this black bag and I opened it. Something was telling me to look in that bag and what I saw will blow your mind. Part 2 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So he leaves the room and I decide to look around. I see this suspicious looking black bag and I decide to look inside. It was filled with knives covered in blood. I was in denial, child. I was like, maybe it's ketchup. I was coming up with every excuse trying to calm myself down. There is no way that I was so unlucky and got paired up on Tinder with a murderer. Now my fingerprints are on the bag. I needed to figure out a way to get home ASAP. I start feeling unusually tired. Like I could fall asleep any second. And I remembered that drink that he gave me when I first arrived at his apartment, he probably put something in it. My main goal now was just to stay awake. He came back in the room, I acted like everything was fine. He's a big man and if he knew that I was onto him, everything could have went south. Tell him that I'm getting pretty tired and I'm ready to go home. Last thing I wanted to do was get in a car with him again. I wasn't even 100% sure where I was. Before we leave the room, I see him grab the black bag. We get into the car. Unable to fight off the medicine, I drift asleep. And when I wake up, we were on a deserted road surrounded by big fields. Part 3 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. Forgot to mention in the last part, after he grabbed the black bag when we were about to leave, I asked him why he was grabbing it. He said he was going to drop it off to a friend after he dropped me off back home, which was a fat lie, and here's why. Once I wake up, I notice that we're on a deserted road surrounded by big fields. I instantly started to freak out because I knew that you did not have to pass these big fields to get back to my house. I was getting kidnapped and there was nothing that I could do. He looks over, notices that I'm awake, and looks right back at the road. I try to calm down so things don't get hectic because like I said, he was a big man. Then I ask him where we're going. He just tells me to go back to sleep. Yeah, like, let me just take a nap right now in the car with a stranger who has a bag full of knives, taking me to an unknown location. What a good idea. Obviously, I did not go back to sleep. I had to think of a plan. Little did Kyle know, I always keep a taser in my purse, no matter where I'm going. It was literally my last resort. There was nothing else that I could do. I had to single-handedly take him out, and that's what I did. Quickly reached into my purse, got my taser, and tased him in the face. And that's when things went south. Part 4 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So we're in the car and I tase him in the face with my taser. And once I realized that I had access to my taser, I knew that he was not very smart because he put something in my drink and I passed out. Which means he could have looked at my personal belongings and seen the taser, but he didn't. So after I tase him in the face, he swerves the car. He grabs me by my hair. So I take off my seatbelt, turn to him, put my legs up, and start kicking. Now, I don't have very much arm strength, but these legs gonna kill you. At this point, he's not even driving anymore. The car is going full speed by itself. So as I'm kicking him in the face, he reaches for the black bag which was on his lap. That's when I did. I quickly reach behind me, unlock the door, and literally roll out. I see the car continue to swerve for a few seconds after, but then he manages to make it stable again. He just keeps going straight, never turns back. So now I'm in the middle of nowhere and all I see is big fields for miles and miles. My purse, my taser, and my phone were nowhere to be found. So I start walking. I walk for what seems like hours until I finally start seeing houses. And to the first one I see, they let me in, I tell them what happened. They let me use their phone so I can call the police. Part 5 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So now I'm in someone's house and I'm safe and they let me call the police. Police arrive and then I tell them what happened. I gave them a description, I told them everything that I could remember from that night. And I showed them his Tinder page. One of the officers go back to their car. And when they come back, they let me know that his name is not in the system. And at that point, I'm confused. Because did this man fake his identity as well? The police officers ask me where I live and I let them know. And they go, wow, that's pretty far from here. And so I'm like, how far? They answer, about 3 hours away. So that means I was knocked out in his car for 3 hours. I knew we were in the car for 3 hours because going to his apartment did not feel like an hour drive. He was driving for 3 hours. At that point, I'm spooked and I just want to go home. So the police officers take me home and they told me they'd do more background checks on him and call me and let me know. I got a call like a week later and they told me his real name was Jason. He wasn't in college. He was wanted in Texas for kidnapping some other girls. Story time on how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. And not only was she pregnant by my boyfriend, no. He was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. Receipts included. Strap in. Forgot to mention, my best friend is 16, my boyfriend is 18, and I am 17. So me and my best friend would have been friends for 2 years. Me and my boyfriend had only been dating for like 3-4 months. I told my best friend everything about my relationship. He knew about every single argument, every single breakup. Eventually it got to the point where we all three would hang out with each other. I was extremely close with my boyfriend and my best friend. They were basically the people closest to me in my life at that time. We all started telling each other everything. But it started to get weird when I noticed that some things I told my best friend, my boyfriend would all of a sudden know about, and some things I only told my boyfriend, my best friend would all of a sudden know about. Which means that they were communicating without me knowing. So, that's suspicious. At one point, we all went to this party together. They all of a sudden just disappear, and I'm looking for them for like half an hour, calling, texting, no response. So I start asking people. This one specific person said, oh, I saw them go upstairs, holding hands, just the two of them. I was ready to kill. Part 2, Part 2 of how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. Not only did she get pregnant by him, no. She was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. So we're at the party and my boyfriend and my best friend are nowhere to be seen. So I ask around and someone tells me that they saw them go upstairs together. So upstairs I go. I see my boyfriend and he's just talking to some friends. Well, I'm like, we all friends. I want to talk too. Where the fuck were you? Like, oh, I was just up here, chilling with the homies. We're all standing in front of a door and then I see my best friend walk out of the bathroom that's right across that door. At the time I didn't really put the pieces together that they just got freaky. But several months after the party I did start to realize something. My best friend was gaining weight. Everybody else noticed it too. And during these months, my boyfriend also got a new job. We couldn't see each other as much. Like I said, everyone noticed that my best friend was gaining weight. And rumors started to spread that she was pregnant. But no one knew who was the dad. Like I said, me and my best friend told each other everything. So if she was gonna tell anybody who the baby daddy was, it would have been me. But I had no clue. She said she was just gaining weight. She texted me and asked if me, her, and my boyfriend could all meet up somewhere to talk. That talk did not end well. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. Not only was she pregnant, she was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. Receipts included, child. Okay, so rumors are going around that my best friend is pregnant. She texts me and says she wants me, my boyfriend, and her to all meet up somewhere. All 3 of us have not hung out together in a while, so I was down. So we meet up at her house. My parents weren't home, we had the house to ourselves, so it was just the best place to meet up. But when I get there, my boyfriend and my best friend are already sitting on the couch. I cannot believe my eyes, child. This girl had a pregnancy test in her hand. I was like, put that shit away. I'm not fucking playing with you right now. Put that shit away. He basically tells me that it's exactly what it looks like. Told me that it happened at the party. By this time, it was April. I'm thinking, child, that's 5 months. They was mute for 5 months. I was dating this man who is 18, about to be 19, and got my just turned 16 best friend pregnant. But she wasn't apologetic. Good sis was laughing. Something was funny or she planned this shit all along, which was proven right after I got this text message from her after I blacked out and woke up in jail. Pause to read. There's a lot of curse words, so the rest will be on my Instagram. This is a highly requested story time of the second time that I encountered the KKK. The first story time I posted about my first encounter, a lot of people in the comments were saying that I was lying or I was just making it up. Something as serious as the KKK is not something to ever joke about. I have done so much activism and still continue to do activism on my platform that I would never make up something like this. Most of my viewers know that I live in a really racist area. This is not a surprise. Just keep in mind that calling out people's experiences and saying that they're fake or they're lying can make it hard for other people that have experienced things like that as well to come out about their stories too. And this encounter, I actually did take pictures. I had pictures of my old iPhone 6, but now it's broken. I don't have any access to any of the pictures in that phone anymore. When it did happen, I posted those pictures on my Snapchat story. There's people out there that know that shit actually happened. Anyways, let's get started. So it was literally in the exact same area as it was last time. That creepy old rundown gunpowder factory in the middle of the night. Instead of being with my sister, I was actually with my mom this time. And we were going to pick up my older brother from work. He worked really late for whatever reason. Instead of coming out of the woods like last time, they were just standing there. Part 2. This is the second time that I encountered the KKK. So like I said, it was the middle of the night and I was driving with my mom to go pick up my older brother from work. Where he worked, we also had to drive past that abandoned gunpowder factory. But this time, the KKK wasn't even trying to hide. They were just there, literally standing in front of the building. But then on the other side of the road, there was more of them. People asked me last time how I knew it was the KKK. Y'all, they were wearing hoods. They had their white hoods on. They were not trying to hide. They were trying to make their presence known for whatever reason. So obviously me and my mother speed past. We're like talking about it in the car and then we go pick up my older brother. When we go to pick him up, we tell him what happened. He goes, I want to see it for myself. I was like, you're not seeing shit because we're going a different route. I would be past them again willingly. So we go ahead and call the police and tell them that we just saw the KKK. They said they would check the area out. We were supposed to meet the police around that area. We could tell them exactly where we saw them. But when we got there, they told us that they had arrested somebody. But they weren't in a white hood. Just a regular person, but they had a gun. I don't know if that person was a KKK member, but we went home safely after that.
One day you come to my open door, and I feel like you can wait no more. You here, but you could have just go. But since you gave what we're waiting for, I just running through 1,000 miles. I've imagined it 1,000 times. Let me show you what we got. We found love, we found love, we found love under this. Oh, nada, under the sun. Oh, nada, under the sun, sun, sun. Oh, nada, under the sun. Oh, nada, under the sun, sun, sun. Oh, nada, under the sun. Oh, nada, under the sun, sun, sun. Oh, nada. like you can wait no more. You here, buddy, you could have just go. But since you gave what we waiting for, we're just running through 1,000 miles. I've imagined it 1,000 times, let me show you what we've begun. We found love, we found love, we found love underneath.
I went to work, as in packing all my stuff, and then I left. Afterwards, he kept begging me to come back, so I blocked him, and I haven't talked to him since. This is probably the most tragic and preventable airplane accident you'll ever hear about. The facts of this story are so shocking that when the audio of what led to the disaster was discovered, investigators and airline officials couldn't believe their ears. The audio of this disaster is so unsettling, but I will include it at the end of this story. On March 23, 1994, Aeroflight 593 was on its way from Russia to Hong Kong. On this flight, there were 63 passengers and 12 crew members, 9 of which were flight attendants. Then there were 3 pilots responsible for flying the plane. 2 of the passengers on board were 16-year-old 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙧𝙚 and 12-year-old 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙧𝙚 𝙬𝙤. And they were the son and daughter of 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙧 𝙬𝙤, who was one of the pilots on this plane. 𝙎𝙪𝙗 was taking his kids on their first international flight, and he was a proud pilot and wanted to show his kids his workplace, but he may have went a little too far. As they were nearing Hong Kong, 𝙎𝙪𝙗 invited his kids into the cockpit, which is the front of the plane where all of the controls are. This wasn't a problem until 𝙎𝙪𝙗 encouraged his kids to get into the captain's seat and take turns flying the plane. He would soon regret this decision. Part 2 of what happened to Aeroflight 593. So pilot 𝙎𝙪𝙗 𝙬𝙤 asked his 12-year-old daughter 𝙎𝙤 if she would like to get into the pilot's seat and fly the plane. 𝙎𝙤 was a bit scared, but her father encouraged her that it would be fine. Now, 𝙎𝙪𝙗 wasn't actually going to let her fly the plane. He would only make it seem like she was. Once she got into the pilot's seat, autopilot would be turned on. He would press some controls that would turn the plane slightly to the left, and it would feel like she was actually the one turning the plane to the left. She kind of felt the control handle turning itself, so she knew it wasn't actually her taking control. Once she was done, it was now his 16-year-old son 𝙬𝙪𝙗's turn. Now, when 𝙬𝙪 got into the pilot's seat, his dad messed with controls to make it seem like 𝙬𝙪 was flying the plane just like he did for 𝙎𝙤. Then he put the controls back to normal, which leveled the plane out. Then he left 𝙬𝙪 in the pilot's seat and got distracted and started talking to his daughter 𝙎𝙤. While 𝙎𝙪𝙗 wasn't paying attention, 𝙬𝙪 was in the pilot's seat, forcing the control handle to go into the direction that he wanted, which was fighting the autopilot, so the autopilot disconnected. Now, 16-year-old 𝙬𝙪 is actually in control and is flying the plane. Part 3 of what happened to Aeroflight 593. 16-year-old 𝙬𝙪 is in the pilot's seat of Aeroflight 593 while it's in the air after being given permission from his father 𝙎𝙪𝙗, who was a pilot on the plane. 𝙬𝙪 accidentally disconnects the autopilot and is now actually in control of flying the plane, which has 75 occupants in total. 𝙎𝙪𝙗 was completely distracted, so he didn't notice anything was wrong until 𝙬𝙪 asked, "Why is the plane turning?" In which 𝙎𝙪𝙗 responds, "Is it turning itself?" 𝙬𝙪 responds, "Yes." The plane is now at a sharp 90-degree angle and it keeps turning every second. At this point, 𝙎𝙪𝙗 should have immediately removed his son from the pilot's seat and took control of the aircraft, but he didn't. He just stood over 𝙬𝙪 in the pilot's seat, looking at the controls, trying to figure out what's wrong. Before they know it, the plane is going down at about 40,000 feet per minute. But the plane is going down at an angle. They're almost upside down. It's like going down the hill of a roller coaster, so they're being pinned back to their seats. Because of the amount of pressure from the plane going down, pinning everyone back to their seats, 𝙬𝙪 is unable to get out of the pilot's